As you may know, the historic Goolrick's business in downtown Fredericksburg has been closed since last year. On this week's edition, we're going to tell you about a project to bring this historic business back to life. This week I'm at 901 Caroline Street, home to Goolrick's, and I'm with two of the gentlemen who are working to bring this building back to life. Mr. Josh Grady and Jay Hicks with Jarrell Properties, which acquired this historic building last year and is now in the midst of renovating it. And so thank you, gentlemen, for joining us today.
Thank you.
So why don't we just start off with just tell us a little bit about the history of this building.
All right. Well, Bill, thanks for coming and let us show off the building. In May of 22, Jarrell Properties acquired Goolrick's, and we got the opportunity to dive into the building itself and the history. And what we've learned is that the building itself was constructed in the early 1800s. The pharmacist Goolrick's started operating the business here somewhere in the 1890s. The soda fountain was established, we believe, in 1912 and has been run continuously since that time. Of course, we've had some serious events that have affected the condition of the building over the years. This area is known for its effect by floods and fires over the years, and Goolrick's has not been able to evade that. So, two significant floods, 1937 and 1942, left its mark on the building, and then two significant fires. One in 1919 did a lot of destruction on most of the block that we sit on, and then in 1947 there was a fire with the Omens jewelry building next to us that did significant damage that we're working with now.
So talk a little bit about the process to kind of bring it back up to code, I guess.
Well, first process was coming in and start to tear down the walls a little bit and expose some of the wondrous engineering and construction that we've came over the years. But we've stepped in now, and we brought engineers in to tell us what we could do to bring it back to its firm structure, solid structure, as well as to its former luster.
All right, well, let's get to what's coming here. So, Josh, tell us about what plans you have for the building.
Yeah, so definitely one of the big things, as Jay was alluding to, was getting engineers in here, trying to figure out structurally how to put the building all back together. So, changing out the floor system, adding new beams and piers necessary to keep the building up structurally and things like that, just so we can bring back the old Goolrick's lunch counter and things like that, and hopefully potentially even have like a speakeasy or a bar in the basement. So a lot of demolition that we went through to peel back and see what we're working with, but a whole lot of energy going into it to put it back to its old lore that it was.
So it will once again reopen as Goolrick's, and a lot
Yes.
of that kind of old time charm will remain with the counter.
The counter, yep. Still prepping food up here, making milkshakes up at the lunch counter, things like that. Luckily, in the basement, there was a lot of old, relics from past years with things dealing with Fredericksburg, Coca-Cola, things like that. So we're going to incorporate a lot of that decor into the interior here. So, just to show off, the history that is Fredericksburg and is Goolrick's. So
Absolutely, and you mentioned the basement. It's quite a long building, and there's an elevation change on George Street. So
yeah.
you anticipate having a separate business that you enter from George Street.
Yes.
Speakeasy you're speaking of.
Yes, so it will have its own door down there, separate, right there in the corner of the building. So it will almost be, it's still going to be a part of Goolrick's, but it's going to be its own, fresh spin and addition to Goolrick's also.
And then you're doing a couple residences on the second floor.
Yep, 2 apartments, one smaller one that's more like a studio, and then one bigger one that's, is going to be pretty decent size. So don't have, exact specs for square footage or anything like that right now because we're still in the process of figuring out what we're working with, but 2 new apartments to downtown.
Bill, as children of the city, we appreciate the landmark that Goolrick's is. So that's the mission, is to bring it back to what we're all familiar with the egg salad sandwiches and the milkshakes. Have the sandwich board up here, be able to sit at the counter. We're going to be, because the pharmacy is not going to be a part of our business anymore, we've been able to take advantage of the space that they occupied. We're going to expand our seating opportunities and really hope that it's the draw and the tourist gym that it's always been.
Absolutely, we can't wait. And the timeline for all this?
Well, that's the tricky part. We're looking at a year.
12
months. There's a lot of work, as I think you'll be able to see through the pictures. There's significant structural issues that we need to take care of before we bring it back to its pretty self.
And people can track the progress of this project. Tell us that website where they can track it.
Yeah, so
Goolrick'sFXBG.com.
We're so appreciative of the company's efforts to bring this building back up to snuff and to reopen Goolrick's. I know everybody will be just super excited. So it sounds like we ought to look forward in kind of February 2024 time frame.
Keep our fingers crossed. That's what we're racing to, because we want to be sitting at this counter having a milkshake too.
Absolutely. Well, we appreciate the tour, and we appreciate hearing more about the vision. We appreciate everything Jarrell Properties does for the community.
Right on. Thank
appreciate
you,
you guys.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
Appreciate it.
All right, so that'll do it for this week's edition. We'll see you next week.